not, regardless of whether you're a person of faith or not, there's nobody that lives forever. There's some people whose lifespans are longer than other people's lifespans, but there's no one that exists in dunya eternally. The place of eternal existence is in the akhirah, right? May Allah make us all people of Jannah. So all you're taking with you are going to be deeds. All you're taking with you are going to be actions. So if you're going to act, why not act on things that are going to give you an increase in love? If you have an inevitable stop to the time in which you can do, why are you going to do things that are going to then yield other things? Because if these are the acts that then increase in love, you can juxtapose those to actions that then increase in what? If you smoke something or drink something, it's going to increase you in what? Complacency. You're going to have to do it more and more often in order for you to yield what it is that's temporary satisfaction, not contentment. When you gossip, when you backbite, when you lie, when you cheat, what is it increasing you in that moment? When you're in a place where you don't keep a promise, you can't yield what can only be yielded through the performance of an act. And if you don't have mindfulness in the act in and of itself, it doesn't need your presence in order for it to still raise and increase what takes place through the performance of an action. Do you get what I mean? So if I engage in activity that just increases mindlessness, then that's what it's going to do. And it doesn't need for me to be mindful of the mindlessness that it increases in order for it to increase that. If you ruminate instead of contemplate, you're just building toxicity in your heart. Do you get what I'm saying? Does this make sense? And you only get a limited amount of time to do it. So if you really think about, well, what's the point of these actions that I'm putting into the world? What are they increasing in me? Increasing in the recipient of it? When I throw out all of these things that are coming from me, what is it really gaining from me? Like, you know why you chase after certain things supposedly, but what is the trade-off that comes? So the same way you can incentivize, I do X amount of hours of work in order to yield Y amount of provision in the form of monetary compensation. The formula is really easy to understand. Do you ever think about what the yield is from the actions that you're engaged in? What are you really gaining from what it is that you're doing? And those deeds, that's all that you're going to take with you. So this is why we have verses in the Quran, hadith in our tradition, where angels will come to people on the day of judgment. And forget about doing a ton of garbage, a ton of things that are hurtful, or a ton of things that are just like engaged in detriment. There's going to be people's books that when they look at the books, the angels are going to say, how long did you even live in the world? And the individual is going to say, maybe I was just there for a day. Because it doesn't match up. An entire life lived, but a book that has nothing in it. And so it's saying that, hey, why don't you engage in acts that are going to be outwardly and inwardly beneficial, as opposed to things that are just outwardly beneficial? Why are you chasing after things that forget about what they mean in terms of the next world or this world alone in terms of its apparency? They don't even make it to your books when you go and stand in front of God. There's just nothing to it. It's futile. It's pointless. Did you tell anybody in the last week of your life thank you with sincerity? And who is it that gets to be recipient of your gratitude? Who is it that has the privilege of hearing that you appreciate them? Because somebody worked hard to make that cup of coffee for you. Somebody worked hard to cook the food that you ordered. Somebody works hard to stand, to open the door to your apartment building. Somebody works hard to vacuum the carpet of the room that we're sitting in. Likely, it wasn't you or I that did these things 2 weeks ago when we came in here and we weren't sitting on the thing in. likely it wasn't you or I that did these things. 2 weeks ago, when we came in here and we weren't sitting on the couches because they were washed, they weren't just washed on their own. Somebody washed them so you would have a clean seat to sit in. And then when you can think that the recommended act is to express gratitude, this is what the hadith says, that he who is not thankful of people is not thankful of the divine. How can that act not increase in love when you can with real graciousness express gratitude? Do you get what I'm saying? With real sense of presence, visit the sick, take care of orphans, be kind to the elders. Don't forget about the state of those who have nothing to eat. Do you see what I mean? Versus you put now into perspective that anything that the Quran and the Hadith are calling you towards is not to your detriment. Why is it bad to be kind to people? Versus now a plethora of actions that render consequently not just deception and malintent. That's a bad thing. May Allah protect us from it. But if it renders now indifference, it kills compassion, it destroys empathy. How many acts in a day do you engage in that's what it's taking away from you? Increasing in consideration. Do you understand? So here, this is what happens. And when you try to think at one capacity, the link between what I was saying before and how it works, that Allah provides for you, whether you are conscious of it or not. So when your seeing becomes the seeing of the divine, when your movements and mechanisms are now influenced from the presence of the divine, whether somebody appreciates God or not, God is still giving to them everything that God gives to them. That is the mode through which you will traverse this worldly existence. In whatever human capacity you can, تَخَلَّقُوا بِأَخْلَاقِ اللَّهِ, you embody now the characteristics of the divine. So you don't love somebody because of who they are, you love somebody because of who you are. You don't treat somebody a certain way based off of who they are. God doesn't feed you because you're worthy of the feeding. God feeds you because He feeds you. You're not kind only to select people, you're kind to everybody. Why do only certain people of certain cultures and races get to eat at your dinner table? Why, when you go to certain places, do you have affinity to people who share skin color with you? Allah feeds everybody. So when your eyes start to be seeing this world through the vision of the divine, then you start to see the beauty in everybody. Not just people whose hands match your hands in terms of country of origin, in terms of social class. Do you get what I'm saying? This is what love does. It removes blocks.